Beneath the grey, chilly morning sky, Episode 7 unfolds a surprising new chapter in Diep's life. After past schemes quietly lurked in the background, rumours and whispered gossip from the outside have made CEO James increasingly anxious. But no one could have predicted that, at that very moment, Diep, the resilient woman who had weathered countless storms, would return to her former husband, stirring a tempest of emotions in both James and those close to him. That early morning, as the faint rays of sunlight began to pierce through the dense canopy of trees, James awoke in his stately room, his mind in turmoil. He had received a report from his security team that something unusual was unfolding right at the edge of the estate. "It seems something is not right," he murmured while looking at his phone, his eyes anxiously tracking each new message. Before long, the sound of footsteps echoing down the hallway made the atmosphere in the house suddenly tense. James opened the door and peered outside, where he discovered a woman, weary yet determined, standing there in a worn sweater, her eyes brimming with restlessness. It was Diep, the very person James had once believed had found solace by his side. Yet now, she stood before him with a cold, sorrowful expression tinged with anger. "Diep, why are you here?" James asked in a deep, emotional voice. Taking a deep breath, Diep replied in a fragile yet resolute tone, "I have come back to my ex-husband's family, because there are things I can no longer explain or endure." Her words hit like a shock, causing the surrounding atmosphere to drop suddenly. James sensed in her voice the scars of old wounds, the pains that seemingly never ceased. He stepped closer, his eyes filled with concern. "Diep, I know you've been through so much, but why choose to return to them? I don't understand. My love for you, everything I've done to protect you." Diep flinched, her eyes gleaming with a bitter mix of exhaustion and hurt. "James, I cannot live forever in a safe box without truly knowing who I am. I have endured so many accusations, so much alienation from my ex-husband's family, from my ex-husband Pao, and even from those around me. I once believed that as long as you were by my side, I would always be shielded. But now, I realize that I too need liberation, a chance to rediscover myself." In the living room, the heavy air of declarations mingled with the sighs of those witnessing the exchange. A few workers, preparing to finish their day's tasks, quietly listened to the conversation between James and Diep. CEO James tried to console her. "Diep, I only want you to be happy. I always believed that with me you would have a better life. But if you feel that over there with your old family you can rediscover yourself, I will respect your decision." Diep blinked, her voice trembling. "James, I'm not saying that you aren't good or untrustworthy, but I need you to understand that those memories, those old recollections, no matter how painful they may be, are a part of me. I can't simply ignore my past just because I want to live in safety. I want to face it, to take control of my own life." In that moment, James sensed a shift in Diep's spirit, as if she was standing at a crossroads in her life. He fell silent, his eyes heavy with sorrow and regret. "I understand, Diep. I've done everything I can, but perhaps you need some space to choose freely. I only hope that no matter which path you decide on, you'll never be alone." Amid the confusion, the phone rang. A call from a stranger, or perhaps an old friend of Diep, added further tension to the atmosphere. James answered, and after a few quick words, he urgently instructed the security team. "Increase patrols and check every entrance immediately. There are signs that Pao or those associated with him are up to something." Meanwhile, Diep left the living room, her demeanor timid yet resolute. She stepped onto the balcony, where a gentle breeze carried the fragrance of the fields. Standing there with her eyes closed, as if trying to blend with nature to dispel her lingering sorrows, she whispered, "I'm sorry, James. I'm too tired of the accusations and the futile tears. I need some quiet time to reflect on myself, to decide which path to take." Not long after, the roar of a motorcycle echoed from outside the gate. A group of people, seemingly close relatives from her old husband's family, appeared. Among them were Mr. Tu and Mrs. May, individuals well acquainted with life's hardships and endless reproaches. Mr. Tu, in a dry yet commanding tone, stepped forward and said, "Dai, you have come back to the right place. Our family has always been waiting for you. Listen to your family. You will not have to face difficulties alone." Diep lifted her head, her eyes brimming with mixed emotions. "Mrs. May, Mr. Tu, I don't want to return because I need freedom. I've endured too much pressure, too many reproaches. I want to rediscover myself, not live according to someone else's expectations." Lytuteu responded in a solemn tone. "We know you've suffered so much, but our family is always here to protect you. You might be mistaken, but all we want is for you to be safe and happy." Mrs. May gently placed her hand on Diep's shoulder, her voice as soft as a spring breeze. "Dear, don't let old wounds blur your future. Our family will always be here, waiting for you to return, so we can overcome every hardship together." Diep looked at Mrs. May, her eyes revealing pain and confusion. She recalled the times she had been mocked, beaten, subjected to harsh words, and the unending fury of her ex-husband. "I don't want to live in those cruel memories," she said, her voice trembling yet resolute. "I just need the freedom to live my own way, not according to rules that were set long ago." At that moment, CEO James entered the room, his eyes filled with worry as he witnessed the tense scene between Diep and her ex-husband's family. He stepped forward, his tone warm yet firm. "Diep, please give me a chance to speak with you. I understand that the past can be a burden, but I believe we can overcome everything together if you allow me that chance." Turning to Mr. Chu and Mrs. May, he continued, "I have always believed that love and change come from within. If Diep truly wants to rediscover herself, then don't force her back into what has already been. Let her choose. Let her be free." In that moment of silence, Diep's eyes seemed to grow distant. Yet inside her, a flame of determination blazed. "I know, family. I thank you for everything. But I don't want to return just to be confined by old rules. I need the freedom to do what I believe is right," she said in a deep, weighty tone. James bowed his head, his heart heavy. "I don't want to lose you, but I also can't force you to live in a way you don't wish to." He paused, his eyes glistening with tears. "I only hope that, no matter which path you choose, you always remember that I'm here, ready to protect and love you." The dialogue grew increasingly tense, and at that very moment, the phone rang, signaling a message from the security team that a group of strangers, people hired by Pao, were approaching the area. James hurriedly left the room, calling on the security team to intensify their surveillance. Amid the ensuing chaos, Mr. Chu and Mrs. May also rushed to pull Diep back inside the house, determined to shield her from any external threat. Outside, the sound of motorcycles and footsteps of unfamiliar individuals filled the air, creating an atmosphere of disorder yet unwavering resolve. James stood by the window, his eyes scanning the fading figures. "We won't let anyone harm Diep," he vowed, his voice full of determination. "I will protect her at all costs." Inside the house, after the security team ensured that everything was under control, Diep sat by the table, her eyes dim yet resolute. She silently told herself that this was the moment to confront her inner self, to face her past, and to decide the direction of her life. "I will not let the ghosts of my past dictate my future," she whispered inwardly. "I will live for myself, no matter how many hardships I must endure." Amid that charged atmosphere, James returned and sat down beside Diep with a tired but compassionate expression. He gently took her hand and said, "Diep, I know that the decision you make today will shape your future. I only hope that you always remember that even if people from the past return, your true love and your freedom are the most precious things." Diep looked directly into James's eyes, her gaze shining with a fresh belief, yet tinged with melancholy. "James, thank you for everything you have done for me. I know that you always wish the best for me. But I also need time to find myself again, to determine what I truly want for my life. I don't want to live under imposition, nor do I want to be confined to the past, even if someone is there to protect me." James fell silent for a moment before replying. "I understand, Diep. I will always respect your decision, no matter which path you choose. I only hope that, despite any difficulties, you will always find the light within your soul." Meanwhile, outside the window, the cold wind whispered through the branches like murmurs from the past. Although Pao no longer appeared in the scene, he silently lingered outside, harboring his unending schemes in his mind. "I will not let her be happy forever," he vowed to himself. "I will make her pay for the mistakes of the past." The sound of security footsteps soon indicated that everything was under control. James and the ex-husband's family gradually calmed down, but within Diep, fragments of the past remained, intermingled with hope for a brighter tomorrow. As night fell, the sparkling lights outside the house created an enchanting scene, yet in Diep's private room, she sat alone by the window, continuing to write in her journal. "Today I faced my past. I listened to the voices around me, but I also listened to my own heart. I know that no matter how many obstacles there are, I will always find a way to be free, to live true to myself. Each word she wrote was like a promise made to herself. After the situation was under control, James stayed by Diep's side all night, ensuring that no threat could disturb her peace. He sat by her bed, silently reflecting on everything that had happened during the day. Love is not always about absolute protection. Sometimes it is about making difficult choices, he thought. If you need time to find your own path, I will wait. I will always be here when you need me. The next morning, as the gentle light of dawn filled the room, Diep woke up with a renewed feeling. She no longer felt the fear or restlessness of the previous day. Today, I will begin a new chapter, she told herself. She tidied up her room and arranged her belongings in her own way, a way to affirm that although the past may be painful, the future always opens up new opportunities. James entered the room carrying a steaming cup of coffee, his eyes soft as he greeted. "Good morning, Diep. How do you feel today?" Diep smiled, a gentle smile that seemed to contain all her hope. "I feel that I can start over. I know that no matter how many storms come my way, I can still find joy in life." James nodded, sensing a subtle change in Diep's soul. "I believe that no matter which path you choose, you will always be strong and shine. Let today be the day of a new beginning." Meanwhile, Mr. Xu and Mrs. May also visited Diep, hoping they could offer her some reassurance. "My dear, whatever decision you make, our family will always be here to protect you," Mrs. May said, her voice as gentle as a mother's lullaby. Mr. Xu patted Diep's shoulder and added, "Think about your future and let the past go. Freedom does not come from running away but from facing and overcoming old pains." Diep listened quietly, her eyes alight with a newfound determination. "I know I've suffered too much, but I also know that from now on, I will live for myself. I won't let painful memories control me anymore." Amid those warm words of comfort, James resolved that regardless of the challenges ahead, he and Diep would rebuild a new life together, a life where love and freedom walk side by side. "We will overcome this together, Diep. I will always be here, not just as your protector but also as your companion," he declared, his voice brimming with faith and sincere love. The day gradually came to an end, filled with mixed emotions yet abundant hope. Despite still bearing scars from the past, Diep was slowly reclaiming her autonomy and self-confidence. Tears might have flowed, but they were now replaced with smiles, the smiles of a woman who had learned to rise after every fall. That evening, as the lights dimmed outside, Diep sat by the window in her private room, continuing to pour her heart out into her journal. "Today, I faced my past. I listened to those around me, but I also listened to my own heart. I know that no matter how many obstacles come my way, I will always find a way to be free, to live true to myself." Every word she wrote was like a vow to herself. James, after ensuring that everything was under control, stayed by Diep's side throughout the night, making sure that no threat could disturb her peace. He sat by her bed, silently reflecting on all that had transpired during the day. Love is not always about absolute protection. Sometimes it's about making hard choices, he mused. "If you need time to find your own path, I will wait. I will always be here for you, no matter which road you choose." The next morning, as the soft light of dawn filled the room, Diep awoke with a refreshed spirit. She no longer felt the fear or restlessness of the previous day. "Today I will begin a new chapter," she told herself. She tidied her room and arranged her belongings in her own unique way, a declaration that, although the past may be painful, the future always holds new opportunities. James came into the room carrying a steaming cup of coffee, his eyes gentle as he greeted. "Good morning, Diep. How are you feeling today?" Diep smiled, a gentle smile that seemed to encompass all her newfound hope. "I feel that I can start over. I know that no matter how many storms come my way, I can still find joy in life." Episode 7 concluded with an emotional turning point, as Diep, the woman who had once endured overwhelming pressure and suffering, rose up to affirm her own path. Despite the reproaches and the pressure from her ex-husband's family, she knew that true happiness could only come from her own heart. CO James, with his kind soul and steadfast determination, had become a reliable pillar for Diep. Yet he also forced her to confront complex inner conflicts. In those tense moments, when the footsteps of strangers echoed and the darkness of the past seemed to return, Diep's love and desire for freedom shone brightly, like a flame that could never be extinguished. The dialogues between Diep and those around her were not mere words, but promises, a declaration for a new future, a future where everyone can choose freely and live in the way they desire. Stay tuned for episode 8. In the next episode, Diep will face even tougher choices, where the past and present intersect, and she will have to decide whether to completely let go of her painful memories in pursuit of a free future. Let's wait together to see the answers to these uncertainties, where new schemes and challenges from both past and present will intensify. Will Diep and James's love be strong enough to dispel the old shadows, or will the past once again cling on and hurt their happiness? The answer awaits you in the next inspiring installment of the story.